Serious, what are your find hot MILFs in your area stories? I have a side job as a real estate agent. One day I was showing some rich single guy in his early 30s a condo. And the listing agent was the typical high-end broker, late 40s. Plastic surgery. Tons of makeup. Fake boobs. White Porsche Cayenne. As we went back, he told me I really liked the place with the MILF. 36 days later he owned the property. 6 months later I saw he bought another one of her properties. A year later they were married. How that happened I still never know. My first thought is I wish I had that much money to just buy property because I found the lady attractive. Since this has a serious tag. My old roommate used to set his Tinder at 38 to 55. We were 22-year-old degenerates and had quite a few adventures actually meeting MILFs that way. Many were pretty well off and just looking to have fun. An old co-worker went down some rabbit hole with these ads and ended up on a Russian wife site. He then went to the Ukraine and she stole all of his money while he was sleeping. I'm not sure about the stolen money part. But somehow the whole Ukrainian thing sounds like my film teacher. He wrote a book about it called Love and Vodka. I live in a small town, population 2,000, and not 10 miles away is a hamlet, pop 50. The ads I used to get saying hot MILF in Hamlet. Click here to chat. Made me laugh. If there were hotties in that small ass town, trust me, everyone would know. When I lived at home we lived in the middle of nowhere, so seeing hot singles 4 miles away was hilarious because there was only like 2 houses in that radius. That means you were the hot single. It was a compliment. My buddy was always raving about wanting to hook up with older women. I think it's because he watched so much MILF porn when he was a teen. Now he's in his early 20s. After a breakup, he decided to go down to what's known as the Cougar Bar, which is really just a higher-end restaurant bar sort of place with a reputation. He asked me to come along and even offered to buy my drinks. So I agreed. Sure enough, he started getting attention almost immediately. It wasn't long until he was off talking to a group of 4 ladies in tiny dresses while I chilled with my beer and played on my phone. I didn't have to play wingman, which was a relief. An hour had passed and he came by to tell me he had locked it down and was leaving to smash. I saw the woman and she was honestly quite beautiful. Blonde. About 5 feet 4 inches. With a tanned and curvy body and slim waist. Probably late 40s. He told me I should try my luck. But I went home. The next morning he comes home and tells me his story. First of all, he got grossed out because her body didn't look like the women he saw in porn. There were a lot of fat bulges, his words, that he didn't know were a thing. He claimed that the dress she was wearing morphed her real figure, which I found hard to believe. Then, he said it was a lot more hairy than he expected. He kept getting aroused, but then something would turn him off. So basically he spent an hour making out and trying to maintain an erection. But couldn't do it. The woman was hurt, so he spent another 2 hours consoling her. At the end, she made them a midnight steak dinner and they just went to sleep. He said he is undeterred. And wants to try again sometime soon. Your friend watches too much porn, my dude. Girl in her mid-40s and I meet doing a community project. Invites me to hang out. Go back to her place. Innocent me doesn't even think it's a date. She says she needs a minute. Comes back in full-blown schoolgirl attire. Number 1 go-to memory in my spank bank. I met a girl in her mid-40s on Craigslist Casuals. Her one rule was we both needed masks. She left her front door unlocked. I walked inside. Went upstairs. And she was standing in the middle of room Facing away from the door. Completely naked. Good old Craigslist. I used to do occasional PC repair during slow times at work. One guy brought in his crusty machine and said, based on his description, that we should just wipe it clean. He asked if we could do that but keep his Asian friend finder program. I said no and he elected not to have it serviced. About a year later he came in with a very limited English speaking. Fast, more attractive than him. Asian friend. Sometimes I wonder how that ended up working out for him. Went to a local watering hole for a beer and wings on a Sunday afternoon. Sat at the bar and a few seats down is a fairly attractive woman wearing a cougar print shirt. Very short skirt. And hot red lipstick. Halfway through my first beer she asks if she could sit closer. I say sure. Talks my ear off for 10 minutes then asks if I could give her a ride home. I oblige cause I'm a gentleman. First thing she does when we walk into her apartment is show me what she does for work. She runs a website that sells Nazi items. Doesn't deter me. I hadn't smashed in a while. She then turns on music. Tells me it's her favorite band. Air Supply. We start kissing and right in the middle of us getting naked she full breaks into I'm all out of love. Basically screaming it in the most out of tune way possible. I start thinking that it's weird so I make up some excuse to leave. I'm almost out the door when she hands me a gold-rimmed plate with Jesus's face on it so I will remember her. I was dumb enough to give her my real number. Got 10 calls and 3 voicemails that night. Can't make this up. This beep is underrated. I have a knack for attracting women 15 years older than me. Turns out divorcees are just happy if you've recently showered, are wearing a polo shirt, and have read a book in the last 10 years. As someone who showers every day, wears buttoned-up collared shirts, and reads 25 books a year, my Tinder experience says this is false. 30 years ago, the hot MILF found me. One day when I was out training on my bike. Back in my bike racing days. She just pulled up alongside me as I was riding and basically said I looked real good in that spandex and would I like to follow her. Then beeped her. Good God. She was a beeping beautiful Italian woman with a nearly endless sexual appetite. It like was winning the 20-year-old male fantasy lottery. I thought that sort of thing didn't happen in real life until it happened to me. Turns out, she was also the manager of the local seafood restaurant. So she'd literally feed me, beep me, then kick me out. At that time, I basically could eat a functionally unlimited amount of food every day and was ravenously hungry almost all the time. So it was pretty much the best thing ever when you're training 25 to 40 hours a week on the bike. I didn't own a car for this 6-year stretch. So, sure I can spend 1 to 3 hours a day 3 to 4 times a week having sex and eating before or after for an hour a day. Often while looking in the mirror and having her compliment how beeping hot we looked the whole time. She was my summer mamma mia. I've never in my life had a stomach so full and balls so empty. To be 20 again. Bars in the suburbs. Cougars like to prey among the young. Have had it happen to me a few times. Before he was famous. Heard John Stamos on the Howard Stern show talk about hanging out outside Chippendales at closing time. When I was 21 to 25. I used to frequent singles bars catering to 30-somethings. This was before dating apps. A fit 22-year-old guy is like catnip to 35-year-old single mothers. It was like shooting fish in a barrel. She prob was thinking the same thing. I put in a new email into those things to see what happens. All I got were tons of spam that just leads you in a spam loop where shady websites ask for your credit card info. Summer 2002. I was 20 and at a music festival. Music festivals can be tiring, especially without pharmaceutical help. So I'm at the beer garden getting a few beers and let out a huge yawn. 40-something MILF says to me, "Oh, is it bedtime, young boy?" And I responded, "It is if you're gonna tuck me in." I looked at my buddies, gave them my new beers, took her by the hand and we walked right out. Went to her hotel and spent the rest of the day and night there getting down. We missed seeing the Tragically Hip, but I've seen them again since. Still one of my favorite sexual experiences. My ex used my phone after he broke his. After a while of him hoarding it from me, I took it back. Every 35 seconds I'd get emails from smilfs. "They're sex now." And so on. I knew he gave my phone horny worm but didn't really care since I'm phone savvy. I looked at his debit card to see if my money went on it yet for an order. And saw all kinds of charges, ranging from 5 to 50. He disputed all fraudulent charges and I thought that was the end of that. We broke up and I downloaded Tinder, kept auto-logging into his account. We had been dating since middle school years and have a baby. And the account very much predated the breakup. Oh. And I found a fake Facebook account on my phone. He made an account with the name Rob Lee, like Robert E. Lee, and sent a dick pic with a long message saying he wanted to passionately make love to my mother. And to a few very known local crack whores. Less passion. More DTF? You can't make this beep up. Needless to say, my current boyfriend is indefinitely